tonight, and
Thank you
out
for
of
all
re-
the services.
out of respect to Mr. Mater, I'd like to give everyone a couple of minutes to mingle, leave if that's what you came for, and then we will resume. We'll resume at 6:05. It is 6:02. I know I said 6:05, but sometimes this council is like herding cats. One of our councilmen is having a medical emergency. As most of you know, we just got served, and that causes some people some anxiety. I will entertain a motion to excuse Councilman Ryan.
So moved.
We have a motion by Koskela. Going once. Going twice.
I will second it.
We have a second by Cole. Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Koskela,
Yes.
Weinberger,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Kyer,
Yes.
Brandon.
Yes. Motion carried. I'm going to hold off on entertaining a motion for Wendell to see if he makes it back in here or not, I suppose. Okay. All right. This brings us to the approval of our consent agenda. All items listed under consent agenda are considered routine and non-controversial by the Village Council and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and discussed separately immediately after consent agenda approval in its normal sequence on the regular agenda. Lisa, could you please read this lengthy consent agenda? I'm so sorry.
I had to take a break from water, no, I'm just kidding. A, agenda approval. B, consideration of the approval of the village council minutes of February 10th, 2026. C, acknowledgement of receipt of historic district commission minutes of September 11th, 2025. D, acknowledgement of receipt of historic district commission minutes of November 13th, 2025. E, acknowledgement of receipt of historic district commission minutes of December 11th, 2025. F, acknowledgement of receipt of Parks Commission minutes of January 8th, 2025. G, acknowledgement of receipt of Parks Commission minutes of February 5th, 2025. H, acknowledgement of receipt of Parks Commission minutes of March 5th, 2025. I, acknowledgement of receipt of Parks Commission minutes of April 2nd, 2025. J, acknowledgement of receipt of Parks Commission minutes of May 7th, 2025. K, acknowledgement of receipt of Parks Commission minutes of June 4th, 2025. L, acknowledgement of receipt of Parks Commission minutes of July 2nd, 2025. M, acknowledgement of receipt of Parks Commission minutes of August 6th, 2025. N, acknowledgement of receipt of Parks Commission minutes of September 3rd, 2025. O, acknowledgement of receipt of Parks Commission minutes of October 1st, 2025. P, acknowledgement of receipt of Parks Commission minutes of January 7th, 2026. Q, acknowledgement of receipt of Planning Commission minutes of November 19th, 2025. R, acknowledgement of receipt of Zoning Board of Appeals minutes of June 2nd, 2025. S, approval of MERS Defined Contribution Adoption Agreement for department heads, adding the DDA Director job description. T, acknowledgement of receipt of Planning Commission Annual Report for 2025. U, acknowledgement of receipt of Zoning Board of Appeals Annual Report for 2025. V, consideration of approval of the amended fiscal year 2025-2026 fee schedule. W, acknowledgement of award of Ronald Trees trimming for services. X, acknowledgement of receipt of groundskeeping request for proposal with a submission deadline of April 18th, 2026. Y, consideration of resolution and proclamation 2026-008 designating Morris Fane Day and Arbor Day on April 24th, 2026. Z, consideration of the approval of resolution 2026-009 authorizing West Nile Virus Fund expense reimbursement request. AA, consideration of the approval of warrant 2026-003 in the amount of $319,578.03.
Got this. is that all? Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Weinbrenner, we have a second by Kyer. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Cascola,
Yes.
Weinbrenner,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Kyer,
Yes.
Wendell,
Wasn't present at that time.
Brandon,
Yes, we have a quorum, motion carried. Presentations, that brings us to this evening's presentations. Could I please have the family of Tim Hart and his friends approach the podium? Oh, did I say that? Tom Hart?
Is it Tom or is it Tim?
It's Tom.
Oh,
It's Tom.
it's Tom Hart.
Tim.
It is Tim Hart. Okay, so then I had it right, all right. Okay.
Way to go.
Tim had it wrong. Buster, is Tim here?
Yeah, he's here.
Where's he at? Oh, yeah, come on up to the podium. How are you, Tim? Okay, you can stand at that podium right there, and any friends or family you have with you can join you.
One thing, I don't know if anybody else can't hear you, but I know I can't.
Got it. I will keep that in mind. Thank you for that. All right, so
Test.
Buster Weinbrenner nominated Tim Hart for a key to the Village of Holly. This means a lot to Buster, and he's asked me to read on his behalf, but know that this comes from him. I didn't have the honor of knowing Tim or working with Tim myself. Tim Hart has given 44 years of his life to the Village of Holly through his work at the Department of Public Works. That kind of quiet, steady dedication is the backbone of any community. Tim has more than earned this honor. On behalf of the village, it is my privilege to present him with a key to the village, a small symbol of our deep gratitude for decades of service, reliability, and care for this community. Tim, thank you for everything you have done for Holly. Buster, will you present the key to Tim? And will somebody please take pictures? Yes.
Come on back here.
Tim, in the recognition of 44 years of dedicated service to the Village of Holly through the Department of Public Works, you, Tim Hart, your steady commitment has helped build, maintain, and strengthen this community in ways that will endure for generations. With gratitude and respect, Village of Holly.
Well, thank you.
There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Tim.
Here, I'll put it right there.
All right, Buster.
My phone's on my chair.
It's okay, we got pictures.
Oh. Oh. Now, Joe, I have these at home.
Make sure you call Buster over to hang it.
Here, in case. With over the time I've worked here, I really enjoyed it. I would come right back to work now. I loved my job. And if I was late, if I wasn't in my chair at 10 minutes to, Ken knew I wasn't coming in. And it was probably to go fishing. And I appreciate this, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Danny, get his application before he leaves.
Thank you for all your hard work.
We have one more presentation this evening.
And my hat is,
There's 3 more.
I may be old, but I'm still.
All right. Next, we have Lloyd. Will you and your lovely wife please approach the podium?
Oh, I finally get to meet the man behind the name.
Tonight, We have the honor of recognizing someone whose service to this community has never been loud, but it has been constant. Lloyd Bingham III is a retired technical sergeant from the United States Air Force, serving from 1985 to 2012, including during Operations Desert Shield and Desert Storm, Just Cause, Joint Force, and Enduring Freedom. After serving his country, he continued serving his community. For more than 2 decades, Lloyd has been an active member of both the American Legion and the VFW. He has given 10 years to Dickens Festival efforts, 7 years with the Holly Historical Society, 10 years supporting Friends of the Library, and has also served locally through church and volunteer work. Earlier in his life, he volunteered with the Holly Ambulance, even worked as a part-time dispatcher for Holly PD. Lloyd represents something simple but powerful, the belief that the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or the one. Oh, no. On behalf of the Village of Holly, and I am choked up. Amber, will you
Amber,
finish
take it
reading
over.
that?
On
Thanks.
behalf of the Village of Holly, I'm soulless, so I can do this. It is my privilege,
That's good. I like that.
That's why we like
The truth comes out. That's
on
good.
behalf of
I
the
like
Village of Holly,
I like
it
that.
is my privilege to present Lloyd with this plaque in recognition of his decades of service to his country and to our community. Lloyd, thank you for continuing to show up for Holly.
Thank you.
Presidential recognition for community service presented to Lloyd Bingham III, in grateful recognition of your decades of service to both country and community, and for your lasting contributions to the Holly community. Your commitment reflects the very best of public service.
We're Trekkies. Thank you very much. Thank you, April. Thank you.
Get up there with a picture with Expo.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, Lloyd, for everything you do, bud.
Lloyd was one of the first veterans that welcomed me to town, along with Joe Mishler, when I moved here.
I think Joe welcomes everybody to town.
I think that's true. Okay. Our next presentation will be by Robert Wittenberg from the Oakland County Treasurer's Office on foreclosure prevention.
Good evening, everyone. Do we have the presentation? Yep, there we go. Oh man, it looks like it's all doctored up. The font looks great.
I didn't change anything.
That's funny. Something happened to it.
Your staff did this.
Okay.
I didn't touch it.
They're playing a joke on me here. I can't even see that part. Well, I appreciate you all having me here. I think I was here 2 years ago on this exact topic. I try to get to as many communities as possible. It's impossible to get to all. There's 62 cities, villages, and townships throughout Oakland County, more than any other county in the state. So I try to get to as many as I can to talk about our work and try to prevent foreclosure. I'll talk a little bit about the 3-year tax cycle, the resources that we have to try to help, and then answer any questions that you all have. So I'll try to be quick because I know you said you have a long agenda this evening. So we'll move forward. Thank you. I'll trust you here. So this kind of talks about the timeline here. Year 1 delinquency, year 2 forfeiture, year 3 is foreclosure. So let me give you that in terms of actual years. So this year in 2026, March 31st, and March 31st is the foreclosure deadline every year unless it falls on a weekend, but March 31st is the foreclosure deadline for anyone that owes 2023 and prior taxes. So in 2023, your taxes would have been billed, and then if you don't pay your taxes so those 23s, if you didn't pay by March 1st of 24, they get turned over to the county treasurer as delinquent. If you don't pay them by the next year, March 1st of 25, they're forfeited, which in essence means there's just a lien put on the property and the interest rate changes. And then if you don't pay, obviously by March 31st of this year, you can be foreclosed. But why I'm out here doing these meetings and talking to as many people throughout the community as possible is that we are trying to prevent foreclosure. I always tell people our job, our goal in our office is what we're going to stay back at that last page real quick. Our goal, that's all right. Our goal and our job in our office is to collect taxes, not foreclose. So we're trying to do everything we can. So that kind of talks about the years, and then on the right, it talks about the various notifications. Those are the statutorily required notifications that go to all the properties if they're delinquent in their taxes. We actually send more above and beyond that. Like I said, we're doing a real robust outreach to let people know that they're delinquent in their taxes and that there's help available and try to prevent foreclosure. It also lists the different fees that are added and interest that's added. It can add up really quickly, so you don't want to get behind. The interest and fees are all statutory. They are from state law, so we have no control over them. So we encourage people to pay it off. On the bottom there, real quick, it just talks about the claim period. So it used to be that if you were foreclosed, you lost everything. That was it. You were in the dark. And then what happened, I actually served as before coming Oakland County Treasurer, I was a state representative. And when I was serving in the legislature, we actually voted to change the law so that if you are foreclosed, you can submit a claim form and then you're entitled to surplus proceeds. So if you were foreclosed and the taxes, interest, fees is $10,000 and then the house sells for $100,000 at auction, you're entitled to that $90,000. So there was a lawsuit prior to my time, and so that's the way to make sure that people can get their equity in the house. So we'll move on to the next one. Thank you for that. So this is to give you kind of a broad overview of what it looks like for the county. There are about 500,000 parcels in Oakland County. So this here we're talking about 2022 tax year for foreclosure year of 25. So last year was the foreclosure year. It's the last cycle that we have the complete data. So for 2022 taxes, on March 1st of 2023, that's that top number, 41,000, nearly 41,498 turned over delinquent to our office. So again, they didn't pay to the village, township, whatever it might be, and it got turned over to us. 39,707, that's the number that actually paid in full. So they were not at risk of foreclosure because they paid in full. 1287, that's the number of taxpayer repayment plans that we got people on. So we can't forgive your taxes, your interest or fees. We can't lower them. What we can do is try to give you more time to pay and see if there are grants available, things like that, try to help you. So we do what are called taxpayer assistance meetings. These are one-on-one confidential meetings that we do with people as they reach out to us. Myself and 6 others from our office, starting in December through the end of March, we are doing these meetings one-on-one with people to talk about their unique situation and how we can be helpful. Last year, the foreclosure number, I think it got cut off the screen. The foreclosure number last year was about 170. It was slightly inflated because there was one property owner who kept going to the judge and it kept getting delayed, but she had 30 vacant parcels in Pontiac and those foreclosed last year. So it should have been about 140 parcels throughout the county. And that was still relatively low. The lowest number we ever had was in 2023. We had, hold on, I got to think about this. Was 23 or 24? 23, we had 90 foreclosures for the county. The overwhelming majority of what gets foreclosed is vacant. It's typically vacant land, occasionally a vacant structure. So this kind of gives you a scope for the county, and now we'll talk specifically about Holly. The next page. So this is 2024 foreclosure data. So this would have been 2021 taxes that turned over delinquent in 2022. That's 188. And then March 1st of 2023 is when it was forfeited. So 140 something paid. There was a 41 still left. And then in 24, there was one foreclosed parcel here that went to land sale. We'll go to the next one. It should be 2025 data. So it was last year. So the delinquencies ticked up just a little bit. So there were 206. Again, this would have been 22 taxes. So 206 turned over delinquent in 23. Forfeited was 30 and 24. And then we didn't have any foreclosed here last year. So we'll go to the next slide. Again, the kind of what I'm doing. Yeah, this is not easy to read here. This is on our website, or you can share the slides with people. But again, I talked about it's the 3-year process. Again, this year for 26, anyone who owes 2023 and prior year taxes is subject to foreclosure. March 31st is the deadline for them to pay or to reach out to our office to get onto a repayment agreement. The old adage is we don't know that you need help unless you tell us you need help. So you have to reach out to us because again, we're sending these various notices, first class mail, priority mail, posting the property twice. Someone's visiting the property twice. So we're making sure people know that they are at risk of foreclosure. Within our office, we also have, I told you about those taxpayer assistance meetings. We also have our financial empowerment center. So this is in essence, Rita, who runs this department, is like a financial coach. We'll talk people through budgeting, household budgeting. We'll see if there's grants available to them and try to help them out. So please reach out. On the next page, I'll give you that information. We're doing the outreach. So again, I'm trying to speak to as many communities as possible. I was actually at the Holly Library just before this. And waiting there if anyone wanted to talk about this as well. So I think that's everything from this page. I went over this timeline just a little bit, but just kind of FYI, through that process, again, March 31st is the last day to pay or get onto a repayment agreement. Otherwise, the foreclosure happens April 1st. There was a judicial foreclosure hearing. This is hypothetically if you came to our office and couldn't get into an agreement or just didn't reach out to us and want to go direct to the judge, you can do that. That happened in February 18th, but that happens every year, typically in February. And then the bottom is when I talked about the claims form that people can submit. If they are foreclosed, it has to be sent to our office by July 1st for them to possibly get their surplus proceeds. We are very proactive. If the foreclosure does happen, we send them that form, we follow up. We want to make sure people are taken care of. So again, we are trying to prevent foreclosure, but in the instance that it happens, we want to make sure that they get the surplus if they're entitled to it. So next page, please. So these are some of the resources. Again, I talked about the Financial Empowerment Center within our office. Please feel free to call 248-858-0672. Our website is listed there, oakgov.com/treasurer. That actually has all of the information for our office and how to pay taxes and search for property and things like that. Also the poverty exemption. So this is for people that are low income. You have an opportunity, depending on your income, to apply to lower your property taxes, but this is something you'd have to talk to your local assessor here about that. We don't handle that within our office, but just want people to be aware of that it can save people money. And then the other one there is Lakeshore Legal Aid. Lakeshore Legal Aid we are not affiliated with, but they are a nonprofit that does really great work. They are a free legal aid service for low-income families and seniors, and they deal with everything but criminal law and traffic citations. So otherwise, if you need to call them about probate, things like that, they can help. Phone number 888-783-8190. Their website is lakeshorelegal.org. So these are attorneys who just volunteer their time. So encourage people to reach out to them as well. We send some people over to them. Next page, I think this is just about some of the things within our office. I'll just be brief on this. We have our Smart Finance Academy. So these are financial webinars that we do monthly that talk about various topics we did one on household budgeting, debt relief, credit and what that's, having good credit, how to build your credit. We did one with, I partnered with Sheriff Bouchard and talked about financial scams and what to look out for and how to prevent them. We have one actually coming up tomorrow for anyone that wants to join in. It's actually about filing your personal income taxes. So your 2025 taxes, obviously April 15th, the deadline. We have a CPA who I've been at other meetings where he presented. He does a really great job. So he's going to talk through things you should be aware of, any changes from the law at the federal or state level. So they are free. You just need to go online to the oakgov.com/smartfinance and you can register. Also, we have a program which is a down payment assistance program for first-time home buyers in Oakland County, and it's based on income. It's a $5,000 grant. You do not have to pay it back, but again, you do have to qualify. You do have to bring $1,000 of your own money to the table, and you do have to go through like a financial education program. But we've had, that number's a little outdated. I think we've now had about $300,000 in grants go to first-time home buyers here in Oakland County. And then the last thing is we have our education videos. It's sorry, that they're on the right. These are just short videos on our website that talk about important topics for homeowners, that talk about kind of what I'm talking about today, the foreclosure process, talk about the pop-up tax, talk about your assessment notice that you get in the mail. So various topics that people have asked us about that we thought little short videos would be helpful to educate people. So again, that's on our website, or you can go directly to oakgov.com/property tax education. So some resources for you. And then I think that's it. We'll go to the next page. This should be contact information. So call our office, 248-858-0611. Obviously, the email's up there as well. If you weren't listening to a word I said this evening or didn't care, the only thing I want to leave you with is that we are here to help. If you need help, or if you know someone that owes 2023 and or prior year taxes, please reach out on their behalf, have them reach out. We want to try to help. Like I said, we want to try to prevent foreclosure, and that's why I'm visiting as many communities as possible to do this. So I appreciate your time and happy to answer any questions that any of you have.
Council?
Madam President? Go ahead, Jim. Sorry.
Go ahead, Jim.
Thank you. First, thanks for being here.
Yeah.
I think it's nice to see Oakland County, and I think Oakland County up here in our own little area. So thanks for coming up
Your
here.
beautiful area.
So you mentioned most properties are vacant properties that are being foreclosed on. So that's basically what I'm looking for is answers to this. So I think it's Highland Park has a program or a stipulation. If you buy a foreclosed property, you have to turn it around and they have to see improvements within X number of months or something like that. Is that correct? Did you know about that?
So that would be different. And the law has since changed. So it used to be a lot of times, do they buy it from the land bank or do they buy it at the auction?
I think it's tax sale. .info.
So that would be different county, right? So you're talking about Highland Park in Wayne
I
County.
know it starts with an H. I'm not sure. I can't recall which one it is.
So it wouldn't be here in Oakland County, and if they did, it used to be that the previous law, and there still is what's called right of first refusal. So the local community, hypothetically, Holly could buy a property before it goes to the auction. So the foreclosure happens, and then the local community could actually buy it before it goes to auction. And it used to be that you had to buy it for public good, right? It had to have like something that benefits the community. And then if they were to sell it to a developer or something like that, then yes, I think that's how they did it. That is no longer the case. Now what happens is, when we changed the law so that people can get the surplus proceeds, now if you want to exercise your right of first refusal as a local community, you have to pay 2 times SEV in order to buy it. And so it no longer has that public good aspect of it. So, and the auction, so we'll talk a little bit about the auction because that came up. So the foreclosure happens on April 1st. We were required to auction off any properties that foreclose, typically in August. It's in the summer. And then the minimum bid for the auction, and it's like an online, almost like eBay, the minimum bid is the taxes, interest, fees, and then like maintenance costs. And then it's literally online bidding. Local communities can actually also register to bid on the property. If they don't think it's gonna go up to like twice SEV, they can bid on it as well. But there's no longer this requirement that if you buy it, then you have to do with the land bank, right? We do have a land bank at the county that we started. That's a different story.
So I think you actually answered a question that I didn't even know I wanted to ask.
Okay.
Thank you for that. But I think my main question was, I think the way I've read it on taxsale.info is, let's say I'm a bidder and I buy a piece of property.
Yes.
And it's a dump property.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of hazards and everything else like that. I'm required by the municipality X number of months to fix it, otherwise it goes back to the municipality. Does Oakland County do anything like that?
No, because once you buy it, it's yours. What could happen though is obviously the local community has their ordinances, right? Blight and whatever else, so they could then penalize you, right? Ticket you for things like that. But then it's your property. If you buy it at the auction, now it is your property, and then it's like anyone else that owns their property, the township can then assess, garbage, whatever it is, right? The different tickets.
2 more items.
Yeah, please.
So you mentioned, we were talking about taxsale.info, and we had said that there were no foreclosures in the village of Holly.
Last year, yeah.
There were properties on taxsale.info, so how are those properties getting on there if they're not being foreclosed? Is someone, like I think the village had property up there, for instance, and there was some other vacant property.
So it was on the sale last year?
I believe so, Mike. I think the property behind the VFW, it's a swamp that was sold.
I think that was 2 years ago.
Was that too?
I think that was 2 years ago.
Time, I'll tell you.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And also, things can go on the auction site. So again, and he's mentioned this, but there is a way where you can go, that auction is online, tax-sale.info. They're a company that we contract with that does it. They actually do it for 73 other counties and DNR. So if anyone is actually looking to buy property in other parts of the state, you can actually go online and do that, but.
Don't do that.
Nah.
Bid it against me. So don't do
Right,
that.
so,
I'm going to now.
but, things can actually be on that website and then pulled up until the auction.
By the,
So by us, yeah. Because we technically, after April 1st, we're the owner. If it's going to auction, it's because the county foreclosed. But we could pull, because what if something comes up where there was another interested party that came about and said, you know, like, here's my interest in the property that didn't happen in the title search, we would rather be cautious and withhold it that year, right? So we can pull it off the auction.
thank you. And the last one, an expedited foreclosure process.
Yep. So we sent that to you all, we sent that to all the local communities. This is a rare instance where this, I don't think, since I've been there, we haven't had this happen. This would be,
Oakland County utilizes this?
no one in Oakland County utilized this. So ultimately, this would be, a property is abandoned, truly abandoned. Like, it could be that there's an heir that's like, I don't want this, you know, I have no interest in this, because you have to start this early. This shaves a year off. So instead of doing 3 years, this is 2 years. But again, you have to know this like once it turns over delinquent, right? So this isn't like once you're in the second year, you can stop the third year. This is a lot earlier in the process. But this is someone who, you know, throws their hands up in the air and says, I don't want this parcel. Or you can't get a hold of anyone.
So if you're still in contact with the person, this doesn't apply then,
Correct.
even if it's at 3 years?
At 3 years, it's already gone through the process.
2 years and,
Right, yeah, you can't, it has to go through the rest of the process.
I got you.
Yep. Thank you.
Daniel?
I was wondering, is there other services besides the tax stuff that the treasurer department handles? Because I remember, before I moved to Holly, we had to have a well put in, and the landlord went through Oakland County and had it funded and put under the back of their mortgage, and
So the county does that. That's not our office specifically, right?
Okay.
But there are obviously various resources at the county and various departments, right? So that would have likely been through the Water Resource Commissioner. So there's 6 countywide elected officials, right? So there's the county executive, the clerk treasurer, the prosecutor, Water Resource Commissioner, sheriff, and treasurer. Each kind of elected official has their own kind of area that they cover. Anything that doesn't fall under the 5 of us that aren't the executive falls under the executive, right? So like the health department, things like that fall under the executive. So that's likely something that falls under our Water Resource
I
Commissioner,
was
Jim
thinking
Nass.
just like if anybody in the village per se might have a problem, because we're all on
Yep,
a city sewer system.
yep.
If something happened to where they went down or something, somebody might not have the,
I can
Yep.
help out with that a little bit too.
Okay.
So I think it's Human Services, Housing and Human Services.
So that's
They have it, and so what it is if someone needs necessary improvements to their property, they will, the county can help out, and they'll pay for it, and basically they'll put a lien on the property instead, and really, and it's a zero interest lien, and it just has to be paid back when the property transfers ownership at some point. We've used it before for people that had their lateral laid from the house to the main that has failed, they couldn't afford it, but obviously they need water, and so the county has helped them out and provided them that service. And I will also add, I was at the Board of Review meeting for the township last week. We have one of the alternates, Diane, in the audience, and for residents that have in the past tried to get the poverty exemption, the standards are quite high in Oakland County as far as your income has to be quite low to meet it. The Board of Review is looking at increasing that. I think it's like right now it's at a 1 at the county, and it's like a 1.5 they're looking at within the township. So you talk to the assessor if your situation is like that, because if you may have not qualified in the past, you might qualify now.
Exactly right, and you set that rate is different depending on the community. It's set by the community. And then what you first mentioned, and this is exactly what I was also gonna mention, so I appreciate you doing that. I think it's the Community Housing and Neighborhood Initiative, CHNI. The program he's talking about isn't just for that, it's for if you have roof repair, if you have stuff with your furnace, things like that. They actually loan you the money, and like he said, It is money that you do not have to pay back until the house is transferred or
They
sold.
put a lien on the property?
It's a lien, and then they get paid back when the property eventually is sold or transferred. So we have, I think it's for seniors specifically, or are you talking about one that's
I
for?
believe I don't think that it has been just for seniors. Danny, I know that you and I worked on it for one property, and I'm not sure if it was seniors.
Okay.
But we can, if there's specific people that have needs for that, we will make sure that we will have that information available on the website. And
It
also
is.
they can reach out to the office, and I'll make sure that our team has that information.
Yep, and I know it's on the county's website, so that's a different department, but we see that all the time, because when someone's delinquent in their taxes, we're like, oh, there's a lien that's payable to Oakland County, and we know exactly what it's for, because they, so,
One other thing, Tim, our mic's on?
yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, yeah.
Yours is, I don't know if yours is.
They are. They weren't at the very beginning of the meeting.
Because I can't hear you over here at all,
Oh.
except for with you on the,
I'll say it with my chest from now on, so. You got it.
Thank you, Mr. Wittenberg.
Yeah, of course.
thank you for
Council,
coming.
is that everything? All right, thank you so much. We appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
He doesn't often get applause.
I was just going to say that. We've got a good crowd tonight.
Appreciate it.
Take care. Our final presentation this evening will be by Joe Mishler, who will provide information regarding the Township Library. Mr. Mishler, the floor is yours.
I'm ducking because he said he's gonna get me. Miss Brand, I gotta protect myself, he said he was gonna get me.
Good evening, everybody. This is an informational presentation. We're not asking you to take any action. We just want to present some information. The library board is considering going to a district library. Right now, we represent Holly Township and the village of Holly. We also have contracts with Rose and Groveland. And what we're looking to do is consolidate all of that and put it into one municipality. And that's the process we're looking at. It's called becoming a district library. And let me talk about the current library. Currently, we have 10,000 library card holders. We just crossed that threshold just recently. So many of you probably know the library. You've probably been in there. That building has been there since, I think, 1975 or 76. It's been added to, I think, 4 or 5 times over the years. And we just went through a remodel of it, and we made it much more open and a little more pleasant to be in. And we got rid of those old wood chairs, which really, if you sat in them for more than 5 minutes, yeah, you'd be uncomfortable. So, but the library is far more than its facility. We run a lot of programs. We do a lot of services. And just to give you some examples of that, recently, every year we do the AARP tax program where anybody can come in and have their taxes done free. And that program is always booked up, and it's one of our better programs at this time of the year. We also have other programs, our little kid program, and some of you I have seen at the library with your little ones, going to story time and some of those other things. And I understand right now, and this could apply to you if you'd like to, they're doing a paint a duck contest. You get a little duck, and you get to paint it, and then there's going to be a contest to see, I don't know if it's the cutest duck or the best duck or what. So if you're interested in painting, I'm sure they probably give you a duck. We also have, Debbie runs that program. She runs the little kids program, and they're literally bursting out of the building. We do a lot of stuff outside when the weather's better, that sort of thing. Our teen program has just gone crazy over the last couple of years. Jessica runs that. We started out with 3 or 4 kids, and Now every kid in the high school and middle school has a library card. That's 1,700 kids with library cards. And as I understand, the volume of books that go back and forth every 2 or 3 weeks from the library to the school is pretty significant. Probably 300-400 books at a time are going back and forth. So that program is another really great program. We also do a lot of people that come in and do music, they do poetry, they do a lot of other things, a lot of other programs. We also do some outreach programs. We are currently doing an outreach program in Groveland, and we're looking at Rose. The problem with all of that is that we are at that breaking point with the library. We're right there. And we're there for a couple of reasons. One, as you know, this area is growing. And a lot of people who are moving into the area are coming into the library and taking advantage of all of our services. That includes Groveland and Rose Township. Now, unfortunately, because of budgetary matters, we're really limited in what we can send out. If we, like for instance, our teen program, if we send Jessica to the schools, that costs. And we are looking at becoming a district library because if we become a district library, then we can get a different kind of an agreement with all the municipalities and possibly resolve those difficulties, the financial difficulties that might arise from sending programs out. We also think that Groveland and Rose Township, for instance, are underserved. Again, to send people out there, you have to send staff. That costs money. And right now, Rose and Groveland Township pay $2 a person to use our library. Holly Township and Village of Holly, those two municipalities are carrying the brunt of it. It's far more than $2. I didn't write the figure down, but it's far more than $2. So we started looking around at different options. We could go for more millage, but then again, that hits the village and the township. And currently we are at 1.31 mils. We just went up 0.31 at after the last election, which was enough to get us to do the remodeling and take care of some of those other things. Now, what is a district library? Well, currently, we are looking at 4 municipalities: the village, Holly Township, Rose, and Groveland Townships. You might wonder, well, isn't the school district a municipality? It is, but that's a whole different ball of wax. And we don't want to get into that with them, because then you get into funding issues, and the state has different laws for them than they do for you. So, to become a district library, first off, we have not made any formal action as the library board. There has been no formal action. We have been going through, we have been to all 3 of the townships. Now we've been to the village. We have held 2 town halls, and sometime in April, I think, or I don't know, we are going to hold a town hall meeting out in Rose Township and Groveland Township. We're going to take it out there because we're gathering information. We want to know what people think in order for us to make a sounder decision. Now, how do you become a district library? Well, I'm going to condense about 30 pages of law down to about half a page. And if you have questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them. First off, it's going to take formal action by the Holly Township Library Board to go for a district library. Once that's done, and if it passes, then we go to the municipalities that we want to involve, and we ask each one to pass a resolution supporting district library. Now, if, let's say, the village agrees, and the other three agree, those people create what's called a district library planning committee. You, the village, the Holly Township, Rose and Groveland, get to pick representatives, at least one or two, to a planning committee. Now that planning committee meets and they come up with what's called the district library agreement. Now the agreement, it deals with all kinds of subjects. And if your township, let's say your township doesn't want to do a millage, but it might do a proportion or something, all of that has to go into the agreement. If they all decide to go for the same kind of millage, okay. But the agreement is kind of the important thing. Everybody any of the municipalities that have agreed to go to district library, you participate in the agreement. This is not just something that the Holly Township Library is going to do after you agree to go to a district library. No, the state law requires that you participate on the planning committee. Now, once the agreement, and the agreement can include property, it include all kinds of different subjects that might affect the particular municipalities. And you can look this up. Just type in on your computer district libraries in Michigan and you're going to see pretty much what I just said. Now, once the district agreement is done, then the lawyers get involved. I'm sure we're all experienced in that. And once they reshape the agreement, then the agreement goes back to all the municipalities for the municipalities to agree. Once that agreement happens, we send it to the state librarian, who has 30 days to decide. And really, what they're going to look at is one thing, and that's the funding. They're going to look at how is this to be funded. If it's going to be a millage or it's going to be some percentage or whatever of everybody's budget, okay, but they're going to look at that. And they get to decide whether it moves forward. If they don't like it, then it's not going to move forward. Then you come back and you redo it. But if they agree, a lot of people ask me, is this going on the ballot? Yes, it is, if you're asking for a millage. The other thing that goes on the ballot, and this is part of the agreement, is how you decide to pick the board members for the library. You can either agree to appoint them, everybody gets to appoint somebody, or, well, however the agreement works out, or you can go for an open election. So anybody can run in the proposed district library area. Right now, Rose and Groveland have no representations. So one of the benefits to them would be, now they would have a benefit. They might pay a little bit more, but they were going to not. The other benefit is they're going to have a say. Somebody from Rose or Groveland is going to be on that library board. And the way it sets now is the village would get to pick somebody or whatever to be on the board. Holly Township would get to pick somebody. So those two things would go on the ballot. Probably the most important thing is if you're going for a millage, it's going on the ballot. And if the millage passes, you have a district library. If it doesn't, then you're back to the drawing board. Figure out what you're gonna do. Now, we have looked at several different solutions. What if Township A decides not to go with this, but the others do? We've looked at that. We have a kind of a contingency plan for that. We would still offer the townships that didn't want to go with us a contract, but it's not going to be as cheap as it is today. $2 a person is pretty cheap. I mean, a family of 5 is $10. So those are some of the things that could happen. But the really important thing is the agreement and how you negotiate in the agreement. And I behoove the municipalities that if they come into this, that you come into the planning sessions with an idea of what do you want. Now, once the millage passes and you have a district library, then Holly Township Library will then negotiate with the district library over assets, supplies, buildings, property, all of that stuff. And in the end, probably the district library is going to end up with everything. But what benefit would that be to us? Besides representation, it's also going to give us greater autonomy. Right now, we are the Holly Township Library. Do they have much to do with us? No. They sign checks. And apparently, they wish they didn't sign checks. So if we become a district library, we become an entity unto ourselves. We become a municipality, and we can make our own decisions. Totally. Not that we don't do that now, because if Holly Township, just somebody got on the board over there and they decided to change things, they could. But I'm just simply saying it'd be greater autonomy. And it would be greater representation for everybody. And if you get a millage, let's say a 1 mil for the entire district, that would put the library in a position of being able to offer all kinds of services to those outlying townships. And they would get a lot more services and a lot more benefits than right now. Right now, they come to us. Pretty much how that works.
Mr. Mishler, when is your next library board meeting and town hall?
The town hall dates have not been set.
Okay.
We are in the process of talking with, just went out of my head, Brandon Libraries and Springfield Libraries, because they're the closest that we have, and we're talking with them.
Will those town halls be posted on the library board website?
Oh, yeah, it'll be, we haven't, we're just kind of waiting to see these other meetings, and then we will do that. I don't think, we're looking probably late April.
And then, great, so if anyone's interested in learning more, keep an eye on the library website for their upcoming town halls. And could you also leave us with your email, if you don't mind saying that out loud for us, please, if someone has any questions?
JMM1967@comcast.net.
Thank you so much, Joe, we appreciate
Thank
your
you.
time.
April? Thank you. Madam Chair?
This brings us to public comment. Members of the audience may address council on any item not on the agenda. Those addressing council will be limited to 3 minutes of speaking time. After each agenda item, there will be an additional 2-minute public comment period to speak to that item before council votes. Council will hear all comments for future consideration, but will not have a response at this time. Prior to addressing council, members of the public shall state their name and address for the record. Public comment, please.
Bless you.
Bless you. Thank you. Any public comment? Hearing none? Oh, I'm sorry.
He's too tall.
If I might, good evening, my name is Mike Murphy, currently the Livingston County Sheriff. No, I did not get lost on my way home. Yes, I realize this is not in Livingston County. Been with the Sheriff's Office for 36 years, in the middle of my 3rd term. One day I fell coming out of the shower and I said, you know what, I think I'm gonna run for state senate. So I'm here to introduce myself as Lana Tice's replacement, hopefully, for the 22nd District. Found myself in a position, I think, where most folks are, in that they look at state government and they're frustrated. And I said to myself, okay, I can either continue to be frustrated and be sheriff, or I can try to go to Lansing and do something about it. So that's really it. I'm not up here to give you some big speech and a bunch of promises, other than I promise I will work as hard as I have for the last 36 years at the sheriff's office, and I promise I'll use common sense. My philosophy is and will continue to be that problems should be solved at the absolute lowest level. One of the straws that broke the camel's back, quite frankly, in my decision-making process was the state taking away the authority on solar farms and windmills, right? Putting it under the Public Service Commission. That's not where that belongs. That's a local decision. Everything should be done locally. And somehow the state figures, not just with that issue, but with a lot of issues, they have the answers. What works in Holly doesn't work in Muskegon, doesn't work in Clare, doesn't work in even Livingston County, right? So those things that should be handled local should be handled local. So if I may, I've got some business cards here. I wouldn't mind handing out my personal cell phone numbers on there. If you want to have a chat, I'd love to have a conversation with you.
Take those three and I'll hand them to council. What's that? I'll take them, I'll give them to council. Perfect.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you.
Is there any further public comment? Hearing none. Seeing none. Unless, James, are you standing for comment?
No.
Just checking. Okay. All right, that moves us to new business. Lisa, will you please read item A of new business?
Consideration of council of resolution 2026-010 for the decertification of portion of Grant Street.
Do I have a first to consider item A of new business?
I'll make the consideration for the, hold on a second there, oops. The decertification of Grant Street, resolution number 2026-001. The resolution for the decertification portion of Grant Street.
Clarification, that's 010.
Oh, I'm sorry, 010. Even with glasses, I can't read right.
We have a motion by Wendell. We have a second by Weinbrenner. Tim, will you please introduce this item?
Absolutely, and Danny will be my backup, but if you have any questions. So the next two agenda items are resolutions decertifying sections of road in the village. This is in accordance with Act 51, as we can't collect money for sections of road that don't actually serve as roads, essentially. And so in the MDOT's review of our roads, and Act 51, we just identified some of these areas that we just need to decertify or vacate. And so that is this process that we're doing in order to make sure that we can still get money for our other roads.
Any public comment on this? Oh,
Very
sorry,
good,
Danny.
Tim.
Any public comment on this item? Hearing none. Seeing none. Council discussion?
This just means because there's no homes on it or anything like that, it's just,
So this particular one, Grant Street, as you can see by the picture there, we redid that intersection multiple years ago. Grant Street actually used to come all the way through and go all the way across the tracks right there. But due to the strange nature of that whole intersection and railroad safety, it was redesigned for Grant Street to become a dead end. And on our Act 51 map, it still shows Grant Street going all the way through. And they have identified that and have shown us that, and they need us at this point to decertify that portion.
oh, gotcha, okay.
We're only decertifying the portion from the dead end to where the other road, where it used to connect to the other
Correct.
side of the
Yeah,
115
it's about,
feet.
yeah.
Is that where the depot used to be by?
There's a map.
Oh, yeah, I know, I don't see very well on the map.
Yes, the depot's set directly to the west of that intersection.
That's what I thought, okay.
Jim?
Thank you. So I went on OakGov, their GIS mapping software. The road doesn't exist. So how does that work? Where is the road actually showing up as a
So one of the issues, so again, you're talking, MDOT is the state, OGov is the county. There are all kinds of issues with like property gateway, not speaking to the state system, not speaking to the like the local municipality as well. So I'm not sure on Oak
You're talk-
Grove, on the county site, but I'm guessing it's because the state is the one that we're talking about, MDOT's the one that we're talking to, and so I'm guessing that's probably where the disconnect is.
So,
This is specifically for Grant Street.
yep,
Okay.
yeah, so both of them, they don't show up on Oakland County. It's just like there's no road there, there's no parcel there. Other sections like, for instance, behind President Brandon's house, there's a section, very small section of an alley allegedly. So I think there are other sections in the community where it shows these things. It just doesn't show them there, which I thought was interesting. Does that make any sense?
I'm
don't
just
know.
looking up at Proper Gateway real quick to see if,
So you're saying on the state website?
No, not the state website.
Oh.
So I'm just curious. So when we vacate this, does that mean the railroad, for instance, will have a higher tax liability, or the other community? Because someone's gonna be having this land.
No, we're just decertifying the road. That's all we're doing. It's basically, so Act 51 gives us money, right, in order to operate local streets, okay? So there's a portion of the road that no longer is a portion of the road. And so we have to decertify that with their records, because the paper map that they have given us, we have to decertify that section of the road on the paper map, saying that that is no longer a road, and we won't receive money for that section of that road anymore.
So decertify is the same as vacate. So when you vacate it, the land is going
it's not the
somewhere.
same as vacancy. No, it's a different,
So it says decertify/vacate.
does that say that on your actual resolution?
Yes.
Oh, okay. We need to correct that. It should just say, the example they gave us was for decertification and vacation. We need to amend the resolution to remove the vacancy portion.
Okay.
It should be just for decertification. The example they gave us
Okay, that
was
makes-
for either or.
Okay.
So, yeah. Because we can do either action. We can either vacate it or decertify. The action that we're actually doing is decertification.
I mean, it just seemed weird that if there's no road there, like it must have already been vacated is what I thought.
So do we need to amend the motion to say,
To approve the resolution as.
approve the resolution as amended? Daniel, you were the first.
Yeah, I'll make the resolution to approve the new business resolution just to decertify, not vacate.
And who was the second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Okay. Council, any further discussion?
No, I appreciate that you guys did this, because I have never heard of this, so I did some research on it, like I assume you did as well, where, yeah, I've just never heard of this. So, thanks.
All right.
Now, I do have one more question. Now, since they're not giving us funds does that mean they go toward another road inside the village then, or?
No, they give us a certain amount of funds based on the length of our roads. And so if that's not an actual road, we just have to take 115 feet off of those calculations. So this is just saying, like, we can't get money for something we don't have.
Okay,
And so,
gotcha.
and rather than hold up the rest of the money we'd receive because we have inaccurate maps or roads, we need to clarify these, like, clerical errors that have happened within our system. This is just more cleanup
Gotcha,
that we're doing.
gotcha.
So,
Okay, clerk, please call the roll.
Weinbrenner,
Yes.
Cascola,
Yes.
Kyer,
Yes.
Wendell,
Yes.
Cole. Yes. Brandon.
Yes, motion carried. Lisa, will you please read item B?
Consideration of Council of Resolution 2026-011 for the decertification of portion of Hale Street.
Do I have a first to consider item B of new business?
I will make that motion, and then the same amendment as previous, just to remove vacate from the motion.
We have a
Resolution.
motion by Cascola to approve this
I'll
as
second it.
amended, and we have a second by Wendell to approve this as amended. Okay, Danny, can you please give the particulars of this decertification?
Yeah, a very similar situation. Hale Street used to be somewhat of an alleyway. As previously, way before us, that street is no longer available. I believe there's a driveway in the way there. We still own we don't own the property, but we still have like an easement there, and so that will never go away. Simply, we're just decertifying the road, and we're not gonna receive funding for that portion of that road anymore.
Any public comment on this item? Going once? That was a stretch, right? Okay. Going twice? Hearing none, seeing none. Council discussion?
So the question is, if there is a easement there or something, why don't we just get rid of that and give it to the property owners?
I mean, I guess it's
I
something
mean,
we can
that
look
is an
into,
option
but.
to do, but again, that's a different conversation, right? At this point, we could always vacate it in the future, but for an immediate action, in order to make sure our Act 51 money goes through, we wanted to decertify. And then if there's areas like that we decide to vacate, we could. Because this leaves us as the option that we could create it as a road in the future.
Because I think it's a liability for the village if we're not maintaining it, if it's our property.
Decertification removes our responsibility to maintain, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, because we're not receiving monies for it anymore.
And
The village owns it.
the easement
It's
part,
an easement.
I mean, the easement part is, because I got easement in my driveway the village owns, but I still gotta plow it and shovel it and salt it and cut it and.
Okay. Lisa, will you please call the roll?
Cascola,
Yes.
Kyer,
Yes.
Wendell,
Yes.
Cole. Yes. Weinbrenner,
Yes.
Brandon.
Yes, motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lisa, will you please read item C?
Consideration of approval of Resolution 2026-012, adopting the National Incident Management System.
Do I have a first to consider item C of new business?
I will make the motion to consider the approval of the Emergency Operations Plan.
I will second that.
Motion by Kyer, second by Cole.
That's not what she mentioned.
Tim, will you please introduce this item?
Absolutely. This item and the next one are both part of our emergency operations plan that Chief Watson and Assistant Chief Nitschke created. He was actually supposed to be here to present this because he has a lot more information about it. However, he's out on mutual aid on a structure fire right now. So he's sending some interesting pictures as well, but we'll share that later.
You should share them.
So, yeah, so this one is a pretty standard, the National Incident Management System is a standard resolution that, municipalities that are participating would fill out. The Emergency Operations Plan, the second one, is how we as a community will react to an incident. And that one has a lot more specificity within that document. Chief Narsh has a lot of experience in this too, and he could answer any questions. We've altered this plan from previous plans where, Chief Watson would be kind of the primary incident commander for a lot of, for if an actual incident occurred. Pending any questions.
Is there a reason that we're doing this?
Specific?
Yeah,
Yes.
specific reason.
So every community normally adopts and let's go to first C, the NIMS is what it's referred to, National Incident Management System. That's normally adopted. It's a stock standard plan, and what that is, all public safety emergency heads go through NIMS training, and it's basically us adopting the national plan that says in the event we had a natural disaster like tornadoes, we work with FEMA. By adopting this plan, you get free money from FEMA. So without the plan, you're not going to get disaster relief funds. So every community normally adopts these. Consider this kind of like housekeeping. We're adopting what we normally would do anyway. We're just saying that we're going to work with the state level and the federal level in incident management and operations, and that's all this is.
Council, any other questions? No, you just need us to sign off that we think you're the expert here?
No, we're gonna give that to Jeremy.
Oh, so it
Well,
takes
this-
all,
this
it takes
first-
all liability off your
This
shoulders.
first one is just adoption of, or resolution supporting the National Incident Management System. The next one is about the actual EOP,
Okay.
the ARB procedures.
All right, any public comment on this item? Going once, going twice. Council, any further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Kyer,
Yes.
Wendell,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Weinbrenner,
Yes.
Cascola,
Yes.
Brandon.
Yes, motion carried. Thank you. Lisa, will you please read item D?
Consideration of approval of Resolution 2026-013, adopting the Emergency Operation Plan and authorizing the village president and the village manager's signature.
Is there anything you'd like to add to this item before discussion and comment, Jerry?
So think of this as the step down from the NIM system. This is twofold. Oakland County has an emergency operations plan. We operate with under that. When I say we, it's public safety. What this is every community has their section of that plan. So what do we have that would be a risk or liability that we need to look at and communicate to the county? We have a dam, we did. We have an older community, we have a water plant, sewer plant. These are things that could be in a natural disaster and issue. So we adopt a local emergency management plan, and then once council approves that, that goes back to the county and becomes a part of the county emergency management plan.
This breaks down individual responsibilities, what I'm supposed to do in emergency, what chief is supposed to do, what Chief Watson's supposed to do, how we notify the president, what the president's responsibilities are, and the HR side, how are we keeping accountability of our personnel, everything like that. So as anyone that's been in any kind of crisis can tell you that it gets very panicky, and it's nice to have these set, because at that time we go, all right, what are we supposed to do, and like refer back to it and say, all right, this is exactly where the crisis center will be. This is who is the incident commander. This is what our chain of command is, and this is who we need to contact for this kind of emergency.
Okay.
Well, we still need to vote on the resolution
We have
first,
to make
right?
a motion, somebody
A
has to make
motion.
a motion.
Well, I'll make the motion for resolution 2026-013, resolution adopting the emergency operations plan and authorization the president and village manager to sign plan.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion by Wendell, we have a second by Weinbrenner. Any public comment? Hearing none. Seeing none. Any further council discussion?
So basically, Tim, we're just dotting our i's and crossing our t's?
Yeah,
Per se.
we are meeting state and federal requirements in order to have an emergency action plan in case something goes wrong, in order to make sure that if something happens.
To know who to blame.
This
No,
plan
I'm
is.
just kidding, I'm just kidding.
This plan has been here all along, and your public safety officials have been operating on this plan forever. We're just, again, doing kind of housekeeping here
Yeah.
and adopting officially the plan.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Wendell,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Weinbrenner,
Yes.
Cascola,
Yes.
Kyer,
Yes.
Brandon.
Yes, motion carried. Lisa, will you please read item E?
Thank you, council.
Thank you, Chief.
Consideration of Resolution 2026-014, authorizing budget amendments to the fiscal year 25-26 budget.
Do I have a first to consider item E of new business?
Okay, I'll take consideration of resolution 2026-014, authorizing budget amendments to the FY 25 and 26 budget.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion by Weinbrenner. We have support from Wendell. Tim, will you please introduce this item?
Absolutely, and I'll have Danny come back me up once again. So this is simply that we ran out of water meters and we need to purchase more. Just the need, as we've had to replace meters for one thing or another, we are running out, and so we would like to purchase additional meters so we can supply our residents. Is that about right?
Yes.
All right.
Okay, first, public comment. Any public comment on this item? Going once, going twice. Council, questions, discussion?
Now, you're saying this is to purchase more meters, correct?
Yes.
Now, if somebody's, meter goes out Now, do they have to pay to replace that meter, or?
I believe that, so when your meter is purchased, when you build your house, your meter is part of your tap-in fees and all of that. If your meter goes out by no fault of your own, then we replace it as part of that. If it was for misuse or any reason like that, then you would have to replace it, or you would be responsible for it. Okay.
Yep, correct.
Council?
And this amendment is just moving money out of one spot to cover it in another, right?
Yes, I'm taking it out of other water budgets. We have a budget line item for vehicles. I haven't purchased a new vehicle this year, I'm not looking to, and so I'm gonna take some money out of vehicles. We're also gonna be taking some money out of equipment. I have some leftover money in equipment costs and repairs and maintenance.
Thank you.
Council?
So there's no raising of any funds, we're just.
I already have the money in other budgets, we just need to properly move the money around now to be
That's
fully
what I wanna make
transparent.
Okay. Clerk, please call the roll.
Cole,
Yes.
Weinbrenner,
Yes.
Cascola,
Yes.
Kyer,
Yes.
Wendell,
Yes.
Brandon.
Yes, motion carried.
Thank you,
Lisa,
Council.
will you please, thank you, Danny.
Thank you, Danny.
Will you please read item F?
Village council discussion on budget work session dates and process.
This will be a discussion item, no official vote. Do I have a first to consider item F of new business?
I will make the motion to consider item F of new business.
I'll second the motion.
Motion by Kyer, second by Weinbrenner. Tim, will you start us off?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first order of business is that, we usually schedule 2 dates in April in order to schedule our budget work sessions. Historically, they've been on Saturdays, and so we just need kind of the council's input and to what dates they would like us to schedule it so we can do all of the proper notices for those meetings. They don't have to be on Saturdays, but that's usually worked out for schedules. Obviously, your staff would love for them to be, during the day or on the weekdays, but we understand that, the needs and the schedules of council might not allow that. And
And
so,
your council members have jobs.
Thanks a lot.
What about,
so-
what about April 11th and 18th, gang?
I agree, because Parks is doing our cleanup on the 25th, so if we can avoid that at all,
I think we should do the 25th.
I'm okay with the 11th and the 18th.
What day?
April 11th, April 18th.
Wonderful. Would you guys want to plan at, Yep, that's cool. 09? I think that's what we've done in the past. We've started-
Pardon?
I'm sorry, 9 AM?
9 a.m.?
Yeah, does that work
Oh,
for everyone?
900?
Yeah.
all right, Lieutenant Dan.
Well, that's what he said, it was 09.
All right, so,
Jim, April 11, April 18?
As of now, yes.
Okay. Everybody? All
I
right,
have no
let's,
problem with that.
Stick that in our phones, yeah.
The 11th and? what?
11th and 18th.
And 18th?
Yep.
and we'll confirm with
At 0900.
Councilmember Ryan. I know that, he is now the clerk at Ortonville, so I'm sure he's going through a lot of these same kind of meetings with his community as well, so. All right, so 09.
9 a.m.?
Or 9 a.m., the 11th and the 18th.
Tim started the 0900, not me.
Was that a niner?
That was a niner.
6-7.
Oh, come on now. You couldn't resist.
Oh, did you guys hear that? The kids just retired 6-7 because adults at a council meeting said it.
Oh, gosh, please, please.
If only somebody could let my elementary school know.
Yeah,
All
it's all
right.
on YouTube for you.
I can't wait to tell my kids at home. Okay.
Now we're all
So, and then the second portion of this, we don't, again, there's not gonna be any vote on this, but, if there's anything, I know that some council members, I know Councilmember Ryan's not here, but he had requested that we just have if there's anything specific outside of what we normally discuss within our budget work sessions, if there's things that we want to focus on, I know that, Councilmember Cascola had mentioned something to me earlier. We said, hey, this would be appropriate time for us to kind of talk about these things. we can bring it up now, we can wait till that time. Just anything that might require us to do a little bit additional research before we get to those budget work sessions. And we'll have a similar item on our April agenda as well that will just, outside of reports, that just allows some open discussion between council if there's anything additional that we might not be thinking of that we want to add to our budget work sessions.
So I do have a couple things that I'm
we have
going
to
to
make
go into.
a
that.
motion.
We're not still in discussion?
Have we even made a motion? We haven't made a motion for.
We don't gotta vote on it.
We made a first and a second.
Motion.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
you and Weinbrenner, I think, right?
Yep.
Yeah, but we don't have to vote on it, it's just to open discussion. That's it.
Okay.
Any public comment on this item? Going once, going twice, okay. Lisa, will you please read item G?
Oh, are we
was there another-
not discussing?
What? Oh, sorry.
We were waiting to discuss.
What? I thought we were done discussing.
No, I
think we discussed.
think they wanted to discuss. I think
Well,
that was-
Tim kind of opened it up for some things that we may be looking at going into this
Yeah.
budget session. I can tell you two things that I'm going to be hoping we can find spots for, and that is going to be Haya, clearly. I want to make sure that we are trying to fund Haya, and I'd also like to see something allocated out of, and I'm not sure if this is because of special assessments, but I would like to see us have some notary publics at the police department to be able to perform some services there that I think we can offer our residents and aren't, so a notary and the training costs for that.
And are you done?
And those are my two.
I will say that with Hyatt, I did reach out to them, I've talked to them recently about, hey, if we could reprogram some of the CDBG funding in order to cover some of these expenses, would you be willing to provide the appropriate documentation in order to meet those requirements? And I haven't heard anything back, and this is a week and a half ago, probably, so.
Thank you.
Daniel?
I was doing just a little bit of research the other day, and with the budget financing stuff, we have some unclaimed property that the village and also the fire department are owed, that the state of Michigan's holding on to. I don't know if anybody else got the copy that I sent out, but maybe we can look into that.
I did not, but I can,
Oh, I
I did,
thought-
no, I
yeah.
did not get it, but I did my own research and I've already, on behalf of the village, have, sent the claim forms and I'm just waiting.
I wasn't saying, I was bored and I decided to punch it up like I do, and that's what happened. So.
He also submitted for it too, so. if you-
Oh, yeah, I'm trying to pocket it myself, I was trying to beat him to the punch.
As long as our address is correct.
Yes, exactly. Remember, it's
Can't-
108.
I can't promise that, because they had asked for both, because again, that's their part of their search.
Yeah, well, it was, 108's the correct address this time.
I have a question in regards to parks. I know that we get like $5,000 a year from one of the dispensaries for, and it was supposed to be earmarked for like kids' playground equipment and stuff. We did not buy that in the fiscal year that it was awarded to us, so I just want to see, we haven't purchased any children's playground equipment, so I'm just wanting to see what we can do with that money, like if that's gonna roll over to this next year
Yeah.
or what? Just if we
So,
can
yeah, and
get
any of those pledge
clarification.
amounts are not, I mean, this is what we intend to do with them. It should be in the parks budget for that. But if, I mean, even if the idea is for that, if you wanted to use it for something else, it's not like, there's not like a grant assurance that says you have to use it for this. It's just what they pledged the amount for.
Right.
So if parks wanted to use it for something else, then, they might be able to utilize it for.
But if they wanted to save their $5,000 for 3 years in a row and buy something that was $15,000 for playground equipment, it would roll over and that would be okay?
That would be a question for over here.
So, and just,
So that's where that, assigned fund balance would come in. And so if you don't assign a fund balance at the end of the year, then it just rolls into the fund balance.
The general fund.
okay.
You mean, so it means it doesn't stay in their
Nope, it
column?
just goes to everything
Correct.
else.
However, council could, in the budget season, say, all right, this money that's in the fund balance, we know that it came from here, we will put it into parks.
Release
I
it
mean,
back,
that-
okay.
That could happen. if
Okay,
that's
that's
what.
good to know then.
Yeah.
Buster? Anything?
No.
Jim?
Thank you. I think this was Councilman Ryan and I's goal to have this kind of budget discussion open each month as we go forward. So hopefully we can do that, and if we can all put our thinking hats on and think of stuff we'd like to discuss. One thing to mention, I won't say we got a nastygram, but we did get a nastygram about reaching out for contracted services for police and fire. Now, it may scare some of our employees when we're doing that research, but I just think we hear a lot of communication from our residents saying, well, what about this? Can you save money doing it this way? And I have a very high degree of confidence in our chiefs that they're saving and doing a great job for our community. But I think it was Ronald Reagan said, trust but verify. So I think that's really what it boils down to, is just having information for yourself and doing some research. And I think maybe because we're all not political operatives, we may do it more clunky. So if it comes across that way to any employees in staff, I do apologize for that. I'm not trying to terminate anything or anything like that. Just trying to find out information and be able to tell our residents what actually is happening. So to that end, I think there was...
But before you continue, I think I'd like to clarify that the nastygram, as you called it,
Yes, the nasty.
wasn't necessarily in regards to considering bids from other service providers. It was for council acting on behalf of village administration.
I think he's referring to a different nastygram.
So
Oh,
How many nasty grams do we have coming around right now?
I mean, as council, we're allowed to reach out to people and talk to people in a capacity that we want. So I think there's no reason we can't do that. And it may rub people the wrong way, but I think we owe it to our residents to actually do research and say, yes, our chiefs are doing a good job, and here's how I can prove it. So,
back to your point.
my point. There have been some discussions about Oakland County policing in the community. And I think we've all been very, very against that, and we like our police department here. And there has been talk of, well, which one's cheaper, Oakland County or us? And it sounds like if we just went with Oakland County, it is gonna be more expensive, is my take. But what I'd like to do is I'd like to see if we can convene the Public Safety Committee to just research that further.
I thought we got an answer back from the sheriff's department.
I thought the answer we got from the sheriff's department said, I'm not going to give you a bid.
I thought they said kick rocks.
Well, there was follow-up communication that Councilmember Costa had with them that said, their recommendation was, well, that was their initial response, essentially, like, if you're not seriously looking at this, we're not gonna waste our time in doing it. We've looked at comparable communities, Springfield, we got the numbers from the treasurer there about how much they spend on very similar, and it was, quite a lot higher than ours. But then Councilmember Costa, with Oakland County Sheriffs, did discuss it with them, and they recommended creating a public committee that would do more research on behalf of society.
Councilman Ryan already mentioned, we have a public safety committee.
Yeah.
So there's no reason we couldn't just say, let's get together and look at the comparable communities and say, yes, our chiefs are absolutely correct.
Yeah, set up a meeting. Who's on it?
Come find out I am. So, how convenient.
Who else?
Not
I
I,
think
but I do agree, I think that's a great idea.
Is it just the
I
two of
believe
you?
so.
I've got my cheat sheet right here, so let's
While
just
you're,
double
while
check
you're
that and set
checking
up
that
a
out,
meeting.
can I ask a question to Chief Narsh?
Yeah, if Chief Nurse wants to
Chief
answer.
Narsh, could you come to the podium, please? I just gotta call you to the carpet for a quick second. It goes along with what they're asking. Now, I know that a lot of our officers are gonna be retiring out in the next few years. Am I correct or incorrect?
They are eligible. We have officers that have already passed through eligibility, and so far, everybody's staying on board. It's kind of their loyalty
So
to
is
the
it
community.
something that maybe we should look into later on because of the fact that they might retire out and we might not get new ones in?
You too.
Well, the good news is, we've been replacing
Oh, okay.
our officers,
I didn't know
so
if we had or not.
we have been. The question is, do you want to replace them at this rate or at a higher rate?
No, that's later on discussion.
And that's something that we're gonna, we need to, as we move into our budget work sessions, it's also gonna inform our collective bargaining that we're gonna have to continue doing with our police, and our Teamsters, as well as our fire next year. And that's where, because again, if we wanna remain competitive, if we wanna hire, new talent or younger talent, you know, as our people are retiring, then we need to have those discussions.
I mean, because as we increase our cost of employing them, it might be feasible then to switch over to Oakland County. Not that I want to, please don't anybody ever take me like that, but.
Well, with that comment, what I can make affirmatively on the record, and we'll discover this and look at it, there are 40 police agencies in Oakland County. The Village of Holly is the lowest paid police agency in Oakland County. The Sheriff's Office is the highest paid. There's like a $30,000 difference between the pay. So even if we adjust, we're going to go from the lowest paid police agency, our officers in Oakland County, and they're the highest, so by a considerable span. So I think what the manager is suggesting is that we look at it not in comparison to the highest, but what modifications would be fair.
Well, I wasn't even talking about
Yeah.
going to the high, I was just saying like we increased like $15,000 more for their payment, you know, hypothetically. You know, then we look at that and say, okay, what is our span?
That's what we have to do every year is to look at that. But remember, what you're getting from them is, you're just getting a cop in a car, as Chief will always say. That all the
I'd
services
rather
and
I'd rather have chief than have that. I'm just saying that way then they know, people know
I'm just
we're
saying,
gonna
all
look
of
into it.
the SWAT services, the traffic patrol, the things that, you know, are listed in the county, that's already provided to us. We already have access to that, those services. You know, all of our capital, all of the things we have, already exist with that.
I would like to say too, just because there's a million things we do, and part of my research, I looked at Springfield Township, I looked at Brandon Township, how much they are paying in their different mills for Oakland County, and it was much higher than what we're doing. There's also, if you follow along with our Oakland County Sheriff, if you're looking at with our state, right now they're in meetings because our little corner of Holly is underserved in a lot of ways. Holly Township, Groveland Township, Rose Township, they are all relying on the state police who do not have the same amount of cars available in this area, and maybe this discussion, when you guys go into your committee meeting, can look at regionalization, and maybe we can expand instead of looking at cutting. That is part of why I kind of want to add in some services and some talking in this budget, like notaries for private citizens to be purchasing firearms and different things that you might do at a county, but we can service here. I think we can do these things in-house.
Did you want to touch on that at all, Chief?
Make that.
I do, and thank you so much for those comments. And I kind of want everybody to understand something, and it's kind of 101 on law enforcement. So, and thank you, Manager Price, for sharing the comments that what you pay for with the Sheriff's Office and versus us, or if you brought in White Lake or contracted it's a police officer and a car. So the infrastructure that you pay for, you're going to pay for with the Sheriff's Office. If you were to contact with the Sheriff's Office, you're going to pay their contract rate for a police officer with a car. And what that includes is their training, their uniforms, everything that goes with that. And it's pretty much the same in Holly. In every police agency, we base it on that. What you still have to supply is the police department, the computers, even the Sheriff's Office. So the PD, that doesn't go away. That's not included in the price. It's a officer and a car.
Really?
So the infrastructure costs, all of that are the same, whether it's with Holly PD, Sheriff's Office, or anybody else. So all of those other services, the helicopter, the Marine Division, those are provided to every police agency in Oakland County. Troy has free use of those services because everybody in Oakland County pays Oakland County taxes. So those taxes pay for all of these support services that the Sheriff's Office pays or pays for and provides, and that's equally to everybody in Oakland County. So again, what you're simply purchasing, we already have access to all of the other services, is a deputy in a car versus a Holly police officer in a car. And then we all have the same exact training, the same exact, and that's the equivalent.
So what you're meaning is that the police department that we have now we'd still have to pay and maintain that because that's where Oakland County would sit at.
Correct. All those costs are
So-
still on the community.
We wouldn't save any of that fund.
You're not saving any of that. You still have to
I never
provide
knew that.
computers, desks,
So I
the
think that
building.
We
all
all
of that.
agree, when Public Safety Committee meets, to also consider the expansion of Holly Police into serving our underserved surrounding areas.
Thank you. That's,
Yes, it was, Shannon.
Please, don't take it as I was
Thank you.
trying to say that you were not.
No, you know what, this is always, it's always a sensitive, but we understand it, and I think it's a discussion we have to have. The first rule, the first priority of government is its public safety, the protection of its citizens. That's whether it's federal, state, county, or local. It's always the first. That's why it's the biggest chunk, because we're 24/7, 365. And so it's always more. But therefore, it is a discussion we always have to have. We have to have those discussions, and they have to be in public. And trust me when I tell you, I've been having this discussion as a police chief for 25 years, almost every year. And I welcome those, and I welcome them because it gives us the opportunity to show you the quality of service that you get for the cost value that you get. And I can tell you, as someone who has analyzed this stuff for my entire adult life, at least the last 25 of it, we're getting a tremendous value for the historical knowledge and the ability we have here in Holly. So I'm very impressed with that, and I look forward to presenting that whenever it's needed.
I will say, I will also add that the non-tangible, the non-financial thing that you lose is having these discussions. You don't have command and control anymore. You don't have your chief of police at your meetings that can discuss. If you don't like the way you're being policed, you lose the ability to change that. If you don't want to get, if you want them to, focus their efforts elsewhere, you lost that ability to have any kind of control over that, so.
And the pulse of the community,
Indeed.
strangers policing our neighborhoods.
And the other aspect is if you grab a larger agency, they're gonna have contracts that they regulate as to how those officers rotate. Every 6 months, officers can shift bump, they can move out of here. So you'll have officers that routinely would be, it's like, they don't know the community, you don't know them. Our officers are here, it's kind of like a marriage.
Bob needs to stay.
We're here for life. You got us like a marriage. So we look forward to that conversation. We don't hide from any of that, and I actually get excited to have that conversation. So I am really proud of what we have, and I look forward to showing that off.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Chief.
Lisa, will you please read item G?
Village Council discussion on potential roads and sidewalks ballot initiative.
Similar to the last item, this will be a discussion item with no official vote. Do I have a first to consider item G of new business?
I will make that motion to consider item G on discussion of potential roads and sidewalk ballot initiative.
I'll second that motion.
Motion by Coles, second by Weinbrenner. This is an item that I added to the agenda for discussion. So, the roads are shit.
They broke my truck.
We are all aware of this.
I can say better than that.
I think I've probably said enough, Buster, but thank you. Our DPW has been busting their butts to do cold patches as winter permits, but, as we've seen in our neighborhoods, that gets torn up when it snows, and there's expansion and other things that I don't understand, because that's not my forte. But the roads are torn up, the patches are getting tossed into people's yards. I think it's from when the plows go by or something. And now summer is coming, and it's just getting worse, and we don't have a budget item for roads. So what do we do about it? I don't feel like this is an emergency situation where it's really a special assessment item. I think, it's my opinion, that this should be a millage item up to the voters. They want their roads fixed. They want new roads. We gotta pay for it. We leave it up to them. So, council, what do you think?
The only thing one of the things I'd say is that we make sure that people understand that the village doesn't own the one that's next door to McDonald's. I hear about that and see that so many times pop up, and it's just,
Yeah,
I've seen that on Facebook so many times.
I think it swallowed a car one day.
it did.
I think it took a
I
Yugo.
would just say on that, is that we have active code enforcement on that right now.
I don't answer no, I'm just saying, I just wanted it out there.
Just
Thank you for saying that is under
Thanks
active
for
code.
the
Yeah.
remarks, Chief, to the council minutes about what's going on with it.
Code enforcement is on the McDonald's parking lot,
Well, McDonald's side
I
street.
can say.
side street.
I can say, public opinion wise, people think that maybe none of us drive on the roads in Holly. I know I personally live on Sherman Street, which is one that gets a lot of traction. It's had a ton of heavy equipment, building a new school next to it, it's torn up, it's been torn up, it's rough goes, right? I know that there's some other people who live on some of these streets that are getting named, like Oakland and all Coggeshall, all the way around. We do live this, we understand it, and I love the idea of putting this to the voters as a millage.
I live on Oakland. I have an option of zipping down and taking north out. North is worse. It just depends on which axle I want to mess up that day. I don't know.
Zipping out or traveling out?
Yeah. It's carefully
We do-
weaving
and we
around
have
the
to look
potholes
at-
out.
We have to look at how much more traffic we're having on our streets right now too, right? We have more residents, we now have a fully functioning middle school where people are zipping down every different side
Well-
street to get to.
I don't mean to cut you off, I'm sorry. The DPW though has, when people do their repairs of their drains or sewers, there's, on Bevins, there is, I don't know how many squares. You can play tic-tac-toe on the street where they've just repaired it, but they've done a shoddy job.
Well, I had a water main break in front of mine and the DPW did an awesome job. At least
No, I wasn't saying
they
DPW,
could,
no,
so-
I
Yeah,
wasn't saying
could you,
DPW.
could
did
you
repair.
expand on that a little bit,
I wasn't
Councilman
saying
Wendell?
DPW did the bad job, I was saying the contractors who did the work.
Thank you.
I didn't get a
Okay.
chance, I'm sorry, I stopped too fast. Danny,
Okay.
no, not DPW doing it wrong.
See what happens when you cut me off and
I know, darn it.
insert foot, no. Yeah, it's a real-time, real-life situation that we are all facing. In a village, this is housekeeping. You have to take care of your house, whether it's your driveway cracking or the road that we live on. This is something we have to do to maintain our town.
I have a question. Dan, on our roads and that there, and the infrastructure under our roads and that there, I've always heard that, that goes along with also roads and new repair roads and just don't lay the foundation on it, you gotta repair everything else underneath.
Correct. So that would be the right way to really do this. It'd be a matter of engineering costs first and figuring out what it would cost to start upgrading some of the infrastructure under the roads, because everything is very old. It is very patchworked. We do know that. You know, so the thing with it is to upgrade the infrastructure. Our stormwater management system is very undersized in most areas of the village, and so all of those things really need to be looked at. I would highly advise against just repaving the roads. Yes, we would probably get some reprieve, but it's not a good idea. I don't always like to speak to what Fenton has done, but if you do look at what they have done in previous years, they have redone huge amounts of their side streets, including infrastructure. And so that would be something to really look at and possibly research as to how they have done what they have done over there. They did get to a point where they were just putting asphalt on the road and they were dragging it with their belly blades down the road to fill in holes. This eventually got the residents' attention in order to pass a millage, because there's only so much a Department of Public Works can do to patch the roads.
So I will just add on this, so we have our last PACER rating, our pavement asphalt surface evaluation, was done, I think, 2018?
Yes.
Yeah, 2018.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the last time we got quotes on our roads. I've talked to the village engineer about this, and Danny and I, and he'll know that I've been very adamant that we need to start somewhere, we need to do a road, and we need to, what is the road where we start? We have a few that are shovel-ready, we have, as far as shovel-ready ones, we have Sherman, North, and College, I believe, are our three shovel-ready projects. We already have the engineering done, we know exactly what needs to happen, but that doesn't answer, a lot of our questions. And so we've been working with municipal analytics as well, and part of it is to look over that PACER rating and just talk about how are we going after roads? How are we going to start spending down some of our money? Because the funds that we've used for major and local roads in the past have been, it's supposed to be for the maintenance of them, not necessarily the replacement or resurfacing of it. It's supposed to be just for repairs. And so we're looking at how we can do a plan But it won't be as quick as, you know, doing a millage where we would be able to do it a little bit more comprehensively and quicker. But we are looking at, all right, what is our strategy to go after some of these things? Because, and just, I don't know, how long has it been? 10 years since a road has gotten replaced here? I think 2016?
Yes,
last
we
time?
did, we did receive some grant funding and we repaved, Holly Bush, Coggeshall, and, it wasn't Airport, but it was, Hartner.
Well, airport was done when they put the new sewer in, wasn't it?
Yes, that would have been '06.
Okay.
Now, I know we had a presentation also from Plant Moran, this is probably 2 years ago, but that was more focusing kind of on bonds, talking about the sewer lines. But it was gonna be in conjunction, like we would do those and then replace the roads on top of them?
Yeah, as Danny mentioned, we'd be very foolish to just do the road because, you know, next year you have to tear out the road to put down, you know, any, you know, replacement piping and
So
such.
are we still looking into that?
Yeah, that's, I
Like,
mean,
okay.
we would do it comprehensively. Like, so when we were talking about, like, replacing Sherman, it's to do, like, the entire project. It's not just to redo the road, it's doing all the water and sewer portions of that, too. I'll talk a little bit about that in my reports.
To do the water and sewer portion, the water enterprise funds can cover that. Do we have enough in there to use it? To do some of those, to start somewhere?
Well, we have some that we can start some of those projects, but the thing is, we also have, like, we have lots of pump stations that are approaching failure, that are in imminent failure, that we're having to do. So, like, we have so much ahead of us that we're having to look at. And I'll talk about in the report today. I mean, Danny and I today sat down with Rowe Engineering over at the water treatment plant.
Wastewater treatment
Wastewater,
plant.
I'm sorry, wastewater. We did talk about water as well. We were at wastewater, and we were going over essentially, like, for our capital improvement plan, we need to have a strategy about what are all the things, like, you know, our guys, Tom does a great job of maintaining the system that's there and keeping operating, but he doesn't really have that's not his skill set to look at, you know, what's the longevity of this product, how long it's gonna last, when do we need to replace it, and do all those things. So, we have to look at this all comprehensively for, you know, our, not only what's underneath the roads, but our systems over there, and make sure that we don't spend out all of that money, or any of that money, until we know, you know, like, if, we had a.
If we have if we have a catastrophic failure of some sort, we have to have some sort of catch.
Yeah.
And those can be in the multi-millions of dollars. So that is one thing, we do have to keep some reserve there, and people have to understand that portion of things as well.
The sidewalks, however, we don't really have to worry about any kind of infrastructure underneath that,
That's correct.
so.
Well, if I'm
For
not
most of them,
mistaken,
for most of them.
Jim brought up something about sidewalks
Yeah, so
earlier.
for
If you wanna,
sidewalks, we already have ordinance that stipulate the homeowner's responsible for the sidewalks.
Yes.
So are we,
We do have a reimbursement program, and it depends on your street frontage.
Yeah, so it's 9127 in the ordinance that covers, I believe, that's the council can do a cost sharing agreement with residents at council's discretion in order to replace sidewalks. Ultimately, the sidewalk replacement is on the individual resident. You know, we can do the sidewalk repair and, you know, charge the resident, and there's different methods that we've actually had sidewalks we've identified, and we've done notice to the residents through code enforcement that they have to do the repair on it. There's procedures, again, to do the cost sharing with the residents.
because part of me is like, so 3 years ago, Mr. Walker, the manager at the time, asked me to do, if I wanted to walk around the neighborhood and find bad sidewalks. So I walked around, and I can't find my spreadsheet right now, so I don't know where it is. I did most of the major streets. But there were some that could be just ground down instead of a complete replacement. I think you can do that. If there's a small gap, you just grind it down. And other ones were huge, huge gaps. And if it's already in our ordinances to have the homeowner replace it, I think it would almost be like, I can think of some people that don't have sidewalks. And I know I've brought up in the past, people that live on airport don't necessarily care if the mill pond has weeds. And that's kind of what we're paying for right now, because you on airport are paying for weed treatment in the mill pond.
I want no weeds in mill pond.
I think
I'm not sure if I'm making sense there, but.
I think that based on the discussions, and Attorney Gilbner and I were just talking about this, is that we've kind of got a consensus on, like, the direction the council wants to go, I think that we should just determine what is the appropriate committee, whether it's the Public Works Committee, is it, or Charter and Ordinance Committee that would,
No, Public
but
Works, would be
that-
Public Works.
so how we should proceed. And so maybe that's gonna be some discussion between us and, council, and then just convene the appropriate committee to make, specific recommendations to council as far as whether it's a ballot initiative, or, if they want us to, start working the sidewalks on code enforcement, we can do that.
Cause I think, I lived in a previous municipality, they came by, sprayed your sidewalk, and it was either the homeowner could replace it, and if they didn't replace it, the municipality came by with their crew and did it.
Can we, just as a consensus, say yes, get full code enforcement on sidewalks?
We can,
I'll recommend, make that
we can,
consensus.
I don't know that it needs to be a motion, because we
I'm
already
just, I'm
have,
tired of talking about sidewalks.
Started on the ordinance.
we already have code enforcement, we've already got ordinances.
Yeah, I think just pass it along to the committee.
let's, I think let me, I would ask that let me speak to, code enforcement and such, because there are a lot of secondary effects that are gonna happen with this. Because if, we're going to every resident that has it, and we're saying, there's a lot of sidewalks that need replaced, you're gonna have a lot of angry residents coming in. And so, if that's the direction council wants to go, we can do it.
I don't know, you
Well,
guys.
there's-
Angry residents?
No, I don't think we have any of those,
No,
but
I'm
we could,
saying I think that I think that we need to have some conversations first, before.
well, they could do
not-
sidewalk
not
lifting
now.
too.
Daniel?
It doesn't even have to be code enforcement, we could hire
All
someone
right,
out.
we gotta keep it to one at a time here.
Yeah, I think it's under the discretion of the village manager who does it, so it doesn't necessarily have to be code enforcement. So it could be,
Yeah, I'm the head of code
yeah,
enforcement.
so it could be anyone you want, so.
So I think what we're doing in this discussion is maybe adding some ballot initiative for roads, but we're going to make sure homeowners are maintaining their sidewalks on a different issue. That's what I think
I don't think
Bring
it's
it up.
necessarily fair that people that don't have sidewalks, I mean, you bought a house without a
I
sidewalk.
don't have sidewalks.
Yeah, so you'd be paying
I
for
don't
someone
want
else's.
them either if we are repaving my street, just saying. But no, I think just to get us back into the discussion on ballot initiatives, we're talking maintenance on sidewalks right now, and I don't think that's a ballot initiative. The sidewalks are here, people need to maintain, you just maintain what's in front of your house to the best of your abilities, right? But I would love to see a ballot initiative to start talking about replacing our roads and what's underneath them.
I agree, but I do want you to come back to us with what that secondary fallout's gonna be, please. So back to the discussion at hand. Which subcommittee are you thinking would be the relevant one to discuss what that initiative should look like? And I'd like Danny to be involved if he's, got this insight to, if you don't mind, Danny, the infrastructure that would need to be taken care of alongside with the roads. Because why bother dumping a gold plate on a toilet if it's gonna be crap underneath? It's not gonna do any good.
I think that, I think that what will inform us a lot more is after we get the information back from municipal analytics that kind of shows our roads, like their projection for how much roads are gonna cost, because again, our numbers that we're using right now are 2018 numbers. We're gonna have to look at new engineering numbers because, for the replacement, we're gonna have to determine, the last number I think was over $20 million is what we would need.
Yeah, that's what 20
in order
that
to
was for
replace
the,
it.
yep,
Yeah.
for the pump station.
So I know that you apply to all relevant grants, and then if we get a millage going to that hopefully the citizens back, that can start adding to the savings, and then any other ideas that the subcommittees can come up with to recommend to council would be
Okay.
something. 'Cause that's a lot of money. Any public comment on this item? Hearing none, seeing none. As item H will move us into closed session, we will first have reports as we will adjourn after the closed session. Tim, do you have anything to report?
Yes, actually, I know this has already been a long meeting, but I've put together a pretty comprehensive report. I know that a lot of, we talk about the things we do, we don't always see it, so I wanted to kind of do a little bit of more of a comprehensive report than I've done in the past, just to kind of give you an example of like some of the stuff we're doing. And I'll try to go through it real quick. So to begin with, as you know, some of these you're going to probably want to pull down to have discussions on. To begin with, as you know, Plant Moran terminated its contract with the village for audit services, and that's why tonight we didn't present the report. I'm not going to speculate for the reason they did this right before they were scheduled to present before council. I had requested questions in advance from council about the audit. I didn't receive any specific questions from council regarding the audit. However, if there are any questions, please let Lisa or myself know. While we're not auditors, we will certainly do our best to provide clarification where possible. However, it will probably require us to conduct some research to provide informed answers. We currently have an active request for proposals for audit services. It's my expectation that we'll receive responses this month so that council may consider selecting a new audit firm next month. As I mentioned, I went to the Board of Review at the township. I kind of already covered that. Still working with Municipal Analytics, who has given us an introduction of what the product will be. We're very excited for you to see it. We are currently waiting on our assessor to provide some requested information in order to complete some of the projections that we've requested. We've been waiting for a little while. Obviously, with all the taxes and such going on right now, he's quite busy, but we keep prodding him to provide us that information. Like I said, we're doing that in conjunction with our capital improvement program. I already talked about that. Danny and I met today with Roe at Wastewater. We're looking to get permission from council to conduct a study in both facilities to determine both the wastewater and our water treatment facilities to determine future needs to inform a capital improvement plan. This will assist us in preparing shovel-ready projects for future grants, as we talked about going after some of these grants. That will come before council at a later date. Main Street, Oakland County has agreed to coordinate with Miller Canfield to provide public PA 57 training, which was requested at the last meeting, in a joint session for both the Village Council and the Downtown Development Authority. This training will help ensure both governing bodies remain fully informed regarding the statutory responsibilities. The DDA discussed this at their meeting yesterday, and the dates they proposed are Wednesday evenings in April. Specifically, the ones that were mentioned, I believe, were the 8th, 15th, or 22nd, when I talked to Kevin earlier. I will say that the 22nd, there are potential conflicts based on, there's a planning commission meeting that date scheduled. And so on the 15th, the DDA Design Committee also has a meeting. However, they said they could reschedule that if needed. And also, I reached out to Oakland County, and we want to ensure that these dates are available for Miller Canfield. These are just some of the dates that the DDA threw out. And I want to see if any of these dates work for council so we can get a tentative date scheduled. So that would be the 8th, 15th, or 22nd of April. For this specific one, I was just saying if there's any kind of consensus of a date.
15th for me is best.
I'm available.
What time?
It would probably be 6 p.m.
6 p.m., April 15th was the suggestion.
Does that work for?
That's the best day
Works
for
for
me.
me.
I can do the 15th.
Okay, I will relay that back to.
Is that a work session or is that a?
That will be a joint work session where they Miller Canfield will be providing PA 57 training to both groups in this room.
April 15th at 6 p.m.? April 15th?
April the 15th at 6 p.m. And so we will confirm with the DDA as well as Miller Canfield. I'm pleased to report significant progress from the Mill Pond Committee, which has now surpassed the number of signatures required to move forward with establishing a legal lake level. This effort has been entirely community-driven and it demonstrates the strong level of engagement and commitment among our residents and surrounding stakeholders. I would like to specifically recognize the leadership of Regina Kakos, who has been instrumental in coordination of this initiative. Her and her partner came in last Friday and scanned a bunch of the historical documents that the Water Resource Commission had noted they would need. Although the petition process has now been successfully completed, I've also reached out to Oakland County Board of Commissioners to request consideration of the matter through a commission resolution. The letter is in your packet that I submitted. While the petition itself is sufficient to move the process forward, the additional step may streamline the county's administrative process and maintain momentum on the project. I recently spoke with the Water Resource Commission, and this item will be on the committee agenda, one of their committee agendas for March 25th for a vote, which they will then escalate to the county commissioners if approved. I informed them that I will try to attend the meeting to answer any of the questions that they may need on that date. Staff has already begun planning our village's Independence Day celebration. This year's event will take place on Friday, July 3rd at Lakeside Park. Our goal is to, and again, I have to remind myself every time to say Independence Day celebration, not 4th of July, because I don't want to confuse people, same as last year. Our goal is to build upon the success of previous years while continuing to refine the event to ensure that it remains a positive, safe, and well-organized community celebration. For example, we're trying to coordinate through Oakland County to get their show truck and actually have a band before the events to, just kind of bring the event up to the next level, especially as the 250th anniversary of the country. We will begin the annual fundraising process for the fireworks display, as well as begin planning for holidays, which I have a meeting on Thursday to begin those discussions. In February of 2021, the village entered into a land contract for the sale of the former fire station located at 313 South Broad Street. That land contract expired last month, and in accordance with the agreement, the final closing of the property occurred on March 6, 2026. The village received a check for the final balloon payment. We are also nearing completion of the final details associated with depot move, and these efforts are expected to conclude this spring. I have convened a working group that will focus on determining the future use of the Union Depot. Our tentative plan is to begin community engagement in early April through both in-person meetings and digital outreach. Feedback from the community will then be used to develop a request for proposals that will allow interested organizations to formally submit concepts for council consideration. This process will help inform council's future policy direction regarding the building's use, as well as guide staff's planning related to potential improvements and potential fundraising opportunities. Last Thursday, I'll put my first picture up on here. So I attended the State of the County address. Right when I walked in on the big screen, there was a picture of the Union Depot being moved, actually. So it was pretty cool seeing Holly represented there at the county. The county's executive speech was overall very optimistic about the current status of the county and the service that are being provided. Staff and I participated in the 130th Holly Washington Club Luncheon. The village president and I met with the economic development director from the University of Michigan Flint to talk about potential areas of coordination. This resulted in connecting Director Rathberg with their GIS team that we're moving forward for some of our GIS work that we've never actually been able to accomplish within our village. Next Thursday, I have the Oakland County Main Street Breakfast Summit in the morning in Pontiac, followed by the SIMCOG General Assembly in Detroit. So I'll be out of office all day on the 19th. I am also now on the Michigan Municipal Executives Professional Development Board, and we're currently planning the MME Summer Workshop in Boyne Mountain. Councilmember Cole has been working with the Village Parks and Neighborhood Forest Program, which provides tree saplings for children to plant. I'll defer to her for a more detailed update, but the program flyer has been attached for council's awareness, and there's a QR code right up there if anyone would like to get more information. In conjunction with the Arbor Day resolution that we did tonight, before council, the village will also be coordinating a community tree planting event. Additional details will be forthcoming. This effort is part of the continued participation in the Tree City USA, a designation the village has proudly maintained for more than 3 decades. The Environment Committee met to discuss the MI Green Communities program and our potential involvement. I've been coordinating with MI Works in order to provide an introduction to students to jobs within different departments within municipal government. We're looking at doing a kind of abbreviated career fair for them in early April. I met last week at the Chamber of Commerce in Holly Township with a master planner and a couple local realtors to discuss some economic development opportunities within the community. The DDA is coordinating the village participation with American in Bloom, Growing Vibrant Communities Program, which is an initiative that empowers volunteers and local leaders to enhance community vitality, beauty, and environmental stewardship. It offers structured self-assessment tools, educational resources, and coaching to improve areas like landscaping, urban forestry, and heritage, aiming to boost economic development and civic pride. Kevin will coordinate this effort with the Village Parks Commission. We talked about that this morning. Many of the village-owned flagpoles are currently non-serviceable, which has resulted in inconsistent pole heights and flags in poor condition. To address this, I directed the Department of Public Works to temporarily remove all the flags while the poles are being serviced and repaired. Our goal is to reinstall new flags on fully operational poles no later than Memorial Day, that the village presents a consistent and respectful display. We have also received some feedback regarding the recent tree maintenance work within the village. In reviewing the situation, it's clear that we should have done a better job of communicating expectations to the community prior to the work beginning. The village contracted a licensed contractor to provide professional tree maintenance services along the right-of-way at Lakeside Cemetery and on other municipal properties. The contractor's work focused on removing dead, dying, hazardous, or otherwise designated trees. Village staff will be complete the stump grinding, cleanup, and site restoration following the contractor's work. We are also working to improve our RFP process for items such as this. Director Asperg is also coordinating with the EPA on the Get the Lead Out program to explore potential support of the village's service line replacement program, which is a state mandated program that we're going to have to be part of, but the EPA is going to help us out. While these discussions are still in the early stages, participation in this program could provide valuable assistance as we continue addressing our aging water infrastructure. Last week, I submitted community funding projects to Rep McLean's office. One of them was also to assist with our lead line replacement program, requesting some amounts. We've also been fielding follow-up questions from Treasury in regard to financially distressed cities, village, and township grants, which we submitted. We've gotten several questions, and we've been having return dialogue, which is, I feel like, a good sign that they keep asking us questions about our program and what we'd like to do with it, which means they're actually considering us, which is kind of cool. Speaking of that, I see Blake is here. Him and I, he has some grant writing experience. His wife does as well. I've talked to him. I'm looking at, tapping, obviously, when we talk about the administrative team, it's, me for a lot of this. And so, I want to find community members that have grant writing experience, and him and I have talked about, getting some of them involved to help research additional grants. Because some of them, that's the hardest part, is researching it. I'm pretty good at submission and review of them, but the research and assistance with that would be great, and so I just appreciate, he brought that up to me as an idea and offering their services, and so I just want to thank him for that, and I'm going to definitely take advantage of that. I want to recognize the continued dedication of the Public Works team. They've been working extended hours responding to demands created by our aging infrastructure and the day-to-day needs of the community. I mean, I've seen almost every weekend I've been out, I've seen Danny in a hole fixing a water main. That's our utilities director in a hole working on projects. And just.
He loves his job.
Yeah. He loves his family too, and we got to keep that in mind. The fire department, we saw based on the CPR saves last month and previous, and how the impact that's having on the community. The fire department has launched a free CPR awareness program for the community. I think I've got a slide on that too. Yep. The first class will take place on Saturday, March 14th at 8 a.m. Residents who are interested in participating are encouraged to contact the fire department to be added to the roster. You have to call in advance if you want to attend. Don't just show up. Programs like this are an important part of building a safer and more prepared community. This is just an awareness to get you training so you can perform CPR while emergency responders are coming there. If you actually want to get certification, you can pay additional to actually get the full certification program. But this will get you some training that would be very useful. Additionally, Chief Watson has been actively engaging with the community members and local businesses to secure donations that support the department's training and equipment needs, from CPR training mannequins to AEDs for public buildings. These partnerships continue to strengthen the resources available to our emergency services. I really appreciate Chief Watson being proactive and his leadership in pursuing these opportunities. Finally, on March 4th, 2026, two members of our fire department, Assistant Chief Kurt Nitschke and Medic Firefighter Grant Berger, were recognized by Henry Ford Hospital for their exceptional care of a stroke patient. I've got that little award up there as well. Their response resulted in the fastest door-to-needle time recorded for the month of January. Recognition like this reinforces the high level of professionalism and skill demonstrated by our first responders and reflects very positively on the Village of Holly. And that concludes my report, and I know that Lisa and Mike may have some things as well, perhaps.
Okay, Mike?
There's a ton, but I've got some matters tonight for you, and so that's going to run long. I'm not going to belabor providing everything else, adding to an already long meeting.
Lisa?
Mine won't be as long as Tim's, however, I feel I've been just as busy.
Even more so, but
Yeah.
personal numbers, so.
Yeah, I'm gonna, again, as I had stated before in our last meeting, I'm gonna come every month with a update on our FOIA request, Freedom of Information Act requests. So in the month of February, the Village of Holly has received 12 FOIA requests. We have completed and closed 2 of the requests. 2 of the requests are awaiting payments of deposit. 3 are in the process of being reviewed, and 1 request is in the lawsuit status, and 4 requests are in the appeal process. So that's just for the month of February. I'll be working with the village manager and department heads for preparing information on the budgets. We have our meetings coming up this next week. MMRMA, which is our insurance provider, it's renewal season, so I'm working on a very comprehensive questionnaire that they are looking at, that they do every year, so I'm reviewing our policy for any items that will need to be deleted, added, or revised. The village offices in DPW are currently working on upgrading our computers. We finally got VC3 in here to replace our computers. Our computers have not been Windows 11 compliant since September. They finally got us on the list, and so he is in all week updating those. The personnel committee, we need to have a personnel committee meeting because we have upcoming benefit renewals coming up, and we have to make a decision on those, not only for June 1st, but also for the union negotiation contracts as well. And also, I sent out a review. We had updated the personnel manual, so I'm just waiting for the personnel committee to come back with comments. Myself and the village manager will be opening a money market account with Choice One Bank. That's who we're with right now. I just want to read a quick excerpt that I wrote. The village of Holly currently has a bank account with Choice One Bank. This account is only federally insured up to $500,000. In an effort to insure all the funds at Choice One Bank, I met with Lisa Wood, she's the Vice President Treasury Management, to discuss a solution to this deficiency. Ms. Wood stated that there are accounts called ICS, which is Intrafi Card Services. This money market account would be fully FDIC, which is Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, insured on all the monies that would also give us an interest rate of 3%. Right now, we are currently only gaining 0.05% on our monies. So I am going to be meeting with her tomorrow to set up these accounts. That's all I have.
Thank you. Jim?
Yes, so, real quick, does council need to authorize opening new bank accounts though, where investments are? I thought that was one of the things that council needed to actually say.
So we were discussing that, and we looked through the charter. We didn't see anything in there. We can review it further. I know that when we looked at it previously, that when we're referencing that was from PA 57 for.
Yeah, I think it was in. I think it was actually in the treasury documents, not actually, not in our charter.
So not in our chart.
Yeah.
And we can look at that further, and we can postpone any action on that. And we discussed it, and that's why we said put it in reports.
Okay.
If there's any issues, we can.
Okay.
Take care of it.
First, thank you for staff and DPW for taking down all the flags and making sure we're honoring the flag appropriately, I think. We're right next to Great Lakes National Cemetery, and I know we have a lot of veterans come through, and it's pretty disheartening when we come through and our flags are not serviceable, so thank you for that. Little surprised by Plant Moran's decision to not present. I was trying to think if they had not presented before, and they were always ask questions, and then finally they do a report that's, I would say, not like the other reports they've given us, and they say, no questions, no questions, goodbye. Yeah, goodbye, no more questions. So I thought that was a little sad that we can't get questions answered. Regarding Danny working so much, do we need to hire more employees? I think we have 160, I think I saw 160 overtime hours, and if that's something that municipal analytics can say, well, you have 160 hours of overtime, you could hire a new employee, and then you're not paying as many overtime hours.
We definitely need to discuss that during our budget work sessions, because for perspective, we used to have 12 DPW workers, and now we're down. Now, years ago, it decreased to 6. And the workload has decreased. I mean, our infrastructure, our needs have grown. within the community as far as our infrastructure and supporting water in the township and such. And so,
We don't want to lose that institutional knowledge, people getting burned out.
yeah, I mean, so that's some discussions we need to have some more. I know Danny would love to hire another 6 guys. Whether or not we can afford that, that's what we have to.
We did have someone here that volunteered.
Yeah, so, I told him to get Tim's application before we left, so, yeah, so.
I'll drive a truck.
I had another one. I think it was one of the consent consent agenda items for the tree removal. I like seeing that we had 2 local companies apply. I think it was 2, put their bid in. One happened to be my neighbor. I don't talk to her that much. I just recognize the name. One thing I'd like to see us do, I think it's legal to do, as long as it's not involving federal money, is give priority or preference or extra points to businesses from inside the village of Holly. So if there's some way we can do that with our RFP process going forward, that would be, I think.
I think there is something even within our purchasing policy on our bid procedures that actually say that you can show additional preference to it. I would have to verify that, but I know that language like that is out there.
I think that's in there too.
Yeah.
Okay. That's it.
Buster?
On the 5th, this month, we had a Hyatt meeting, and Hyatt's gonna go ahead and donate money for our Little League team again this year. And also, I was at the meeting, Chief Watson, I mentioned about your CPR, and also gave them the phone number of the fire department, so it could be broadcasted out.
And on that too, if there's organizations that would like to, arrange special training for, a softball team or, your business, then, contact the fire department, and we might be able to coordinate awareness training like that as well, if it's gonna be a large group.
Wendell?
The only thing I have to say is, I couldn't make it to the HGC meeting this past month, and I tried to watch it on YouTube, but you couldn't hear nothing, so unfortunately I missed that. But I'd like to also just give a thanks to all of our employees, first responders, residents, just everybody, to thank them for everything they do for us, including our residents of our village. Because even though we think sometimes that they're just out to get us, I think they're just giving us constructive criticism.
Shannon?
Yeah, so I did have a little flyer up there. I had learned of this opportunity called Neighborhood Forest, where they are giving out trees to local schools, libraries, different things. I was like, let's see if we can get the Holly Village Parks involved. I contacted some people. They're like, do you think we can? I'm like, well, we're gonna throw our hats in, and they did accept our parks program for this. So residents of the Village of Holly, student age, are able to sign up. Parents can sign up their kids, toddler group through 12, whatever, and you will be receiving a sapling. We are aiming to give out those trees on the park's cleanup day. Amber will have a little bit more about that, but that way maybe as people are coming out, we're giving out saplings, we're gonna clean up some parks, and that would be great. It is a free program for the village, so the students who are signing up are receiving a free tree. They just ask that you plant the tree. There are other options on there. If you don't have a yard to plant a tree, they have indoor plants as well, so that is also an option for some people. In case you live in maybe one of our apartment buildings and you don't have a spot to plant a tree, you can sign up for an indoor plant, which is a very cool program. The deadline to register is March 15th, so if you haven't done it yet, this is our last week to get your name in that. After that, they are going to start sending out emails on when those trees will be delivered here. Right now, it's looking as if we are going to be receiving a cedar tree that is native to Michigan, because it is a program that is trying to replace trees that are native to the area, and we haven't gotten full confirmation yet. That is going to come out at the beginning of April on which exact trees we're getting, but last year and the year prior, it's been replacing of cedar trees, so hopefully we'll get some native cedar trees in the area. I don't have Any commissions to report on? I would like to say that I am still very much following along with our area's policing and what is going on there. I appreciate Chief Narsh letting me ask questions and stuff about mutual aid and different things. We got a great little corner here in northwest Oakland County, but that's where we're at. That's it.
Amber?
Perfect. All right, Parks met last week. Just to reiterate, we will be doing our walkthrough on March 22nd to identify any kind of deficiencies we have. Again, if you are somebody that visits our parks regularly and you have a complaint or something you'd like us to look at, we are all available by email. We will also have our park cleanup on 4/25 at 9 a.m. It'll go all day, but we're not, if you just want to come out for an hour or 2 hours, you don't have to commit yourself to an all-day thing. Appreciate Ms. Shannon Cole for coming through for our kids for the trees. We also have CDBG funds that are left over for trees that are available for anybody in the village. You have to be north of Elm Street, though. There is a map, basically, of the locations that we can put those. But if you are north of Elm Street and you want a tree, please talk to our DPW or come to our village offices and we can get you a tree.
Is that for east and west of Saginaw?
It's north of Elm. So yes.
Well,
Well,
I'm asking
what
because
did that cover?
There's a map, so there's a certain specific map, so that if anybody's interested, they should probably come in and then we can let them know if they're in that area.
Thank you for the assist, Lisa. And that is it.
DDA. Besides what Tim said, I was impressed with the DDA director last night. He has found and received authority from the board to utilize a resource called Sea Legacy, which will streamline event planning, volunteer coordination, local business involvement. It's intuitive, efficient, it's affordable and sustainable. Marketing and advertising, and there was so much more. If you're interested in more details, reach out to Kevin, the DDA director, or watch last night's DDA meeting on YouTube. And let's see. Lisa, will you please read item H of new business?
Consideration of village council to enter into closed session to review the village attorney's written legal memorandum, discuss pending litigation, Mattson versus the Village of Holly, Holly Village Council case number 26-CV-10537, and Mattson versus the Village case number 2025-218000-CZ, and review the closed session minutes from February 10th, 2026 pursuant to the Open Meetings Act 276 of 1976.
Do I have a first to consider item H of new business?
Madam President, I'll just note the written correspondence for the legal memorandum was written under the attorney-client privilege, just to be specific. And it concerns redevelopment options.
Thank you.
do we gotta read all that again?
So I would like to make a motion. I'll make the motion to enter into closed session to review the village attorney's written legal memorandum, which is under attorney-client privilege, to discuss pending litigation, Mattson versus Village of Holly, Holly Village Council case, number 26-CV-10537, and Mattson v. Holly, case number 2025-218000-CV, and review the closed session minutes from February 10th, 2026 pursuant to Open Meetings Act 276 of 1976.
Thank you very much. I'll second that. Thank you for reading it.
We have a motion by Cole, we have a second by Wendell. Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Kyer?
Yes.
Wendell?
Yes.
Cole?
Yes.
Yes.
Weinbrenner? Koskela?
Yes.
Brandon?
Yes, motion carried.